Farside Observatory. Farside Observatory coming up, announced the cheerful voice of the lobber's pilot. We'll be down in Mare Moscoviense in 5 minutes. Trudy thought the down could mean a crash as well as a landing, but she tried to keep the worry off her face as she tightened the straps of her safety harness. The Sea of Moscow, McClintock said knowingly. It's actually just a big crater. Korolev is bigger. So is Mendeleev. Not like the Mare Nubium or Mare Imbrium on the near side. When a crater's that big, Trudy replied, it's called a ringed plain, not a crater. There, she thought. Let him know I'm not a total ignoramus. Unperturbed, McClintock went on. Lots of features on the far side are named after Russians, you know. One of their early spacecraft was the first to observe the far side. Trudy nodded as she stared at the display screen above her head. She saw a curving range of worn-looking rounded mountains, then a flat plain pockmarked with small craters. It looked dusty, bare, utterly barren. And then, look, the Cyclops array. Hundreds of round radio dish antennas stood lined up across the floor of the huge crater. The scene reminded Trudy of the segmented eye of an insect, and it looked as if the ship was hurtling down straight at it. She glanced across the aisle at McClintock. His handsome features were set in a tight grimace, as if he were trying to steer the ship himself by grim determination. His hands were gripping the seat's armrests tightly. I'm not the only one who's nervous, she realized. Retro burn in 30 seconds, the pilot announced, sounding much more serious than before. The ground was rushing up to hit them. The array of radio telescopes slid out of the screen's view. There was nothing out there now but empty, barren ground, strewn with boulders and pitted with craterlets. It looked very hard. A roar and the pressure against her back like something slamming a 2x4 along her spine. Then it stopped as abruptly as it had started. We're down, said the pilot, cheerful again. Welcome to the Farside Observatory. Trudy heard several sighs of relief and realized that the loudest one was her own. Then everybody started to talk at once, unbuckle their seat harnesses, get to their feet. We're here, she thought. Now the work begins. She stood up and reached for the overhead luggage bin. McClintock leaned across and opened the hatch for her, then pulled out her meager travel bag and handed it to her. He was tall as well as handsome. Trudy's plain, lank hair barely rose to the level of his chin. Thank you, Trudy said to him. You're quite welcome, he replied. Then he grabbed his own bag and started up the aisle toward the passenger compartment's airlock hatch without another glance at her. Trudy shuffled along after him, walking carefully in the light lunar gravity. She was ordinary in every way, she knew. Average height for a Canadian woman, with a slim build and dull brown hair. No beauty, although she thought her light green eyes were kind of nice. Men rarely noticed her, especially tall, handsome guys like McClintock. He's got no interest in me, Trudy thought glumly. He made conversation with me during the flight, that's all. The trouble with living on the moon, Trudy quickly decided, was that you never saw the moon. You were indoors all the time. Trudy stepped from the Lobber rocket's passenger compartment into an access tube that was sealed to its hatch, then along the spongy-floored, rib-walled tube into a reception area where a young man in a slightly ridiculous-looking pumpkin-orange jumpsuit took her travel bag from her and handed it to a gleaming white robot that already had a half-dozen other pieces of luggage draped on its many arms. Then the young man led her through a maze of corridors lined with closed doors. Your luggage is being sent to your assigned living quarters, he assured Trudy, but Professor Ulrich wanted to see you the instant you arrived. The kid was kind of cute, she thought. Curly blonde hair, light eyes, kind of chubby, but his round face was smiling pleasantly at her. Probably a freshman, drafted from the university to work for the Farside Observatory. Students made a handy pool of slave labor, Trudy remembered from her own undergraduate days. She glanced at the name tag pinned to his chest. Winston.